Today we have updates on Terrifier 3, the I Know What You Did Last Summer reboot, Lee Winnell's Wolfman, and also a review of Beetlejuice. Now let's get into it. Hey everybody, I'm Killjoy Jake, and instead of having friends, I have horror movies. Kicking off today's video is a cute little update on Terrifier 3, just a little baby one. Do you need a pick-me-up after a long day of work, or just somebody to talk to? Give the Terrifier hotline a call for some steamin' hot clown action. For a good time, call 772-837-7439. Again, that's 772-837-7439. For those of you who are too scared to give Art the Clown a sexy phone call, we tried it live on stream the other night, and he just blares his clown horn at you like Sienna in the costume shop. Arthur, are you there? If you want to experience that firsthand, give it a call. I cannot wait to see Terrifier 3 in theaters on October 11th. Join me this Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern for a Terrifier-themed discussion where we'll be counting down the weeks until this one's release. It'll be a good time, just like that phone call. The new reboot for I Know What You Did Last Summer has hit some turbulence as Riverdale actress Camila Mendez has dropped out of the project. At least she didn't get fired for some stupid reason like another 90s horror franchise continuation Star. Deadline reports that she dropped out due to scheduling issues with her Masters of the Universe series where she plays Tila, so there's nothing malicious about this incident at least. The film's cast now includes Madeline Klein, Sarah Pidgeon, Tyreek Withers, and Jonah Hauer-King. Last time we had a cast update, it was said that Jennifer Love Hewitt, Freddie Prinze Jr., and Brandy Norwood, all from the original two flicks, were in talks to return, but again, never confirmed. With all of this uncertainty, I could see this film being pushed from its July 18th release date for next summer. I guess we might not know what they'll do next summer. This new video just came out from the same spot at Universal Studios that we were talking about in our last Wolfman update. To sum up that last update, we basically got our first look at the new marketing for Lee Winnell's Wolfman at Universal Studios Orlando, where they've set up this promotional banner with the official logo and a spooky house out in the woods somewhere. Apparently, this thing appeared there recently, and it has many fans wondering what the quality of this new reimagining will be. I mean, yeah, this design looks like something you'd get out of the bargain bin of Spirit Halloween on November 1st when everything's on sale. I strongly doubt that this is actually going to be the Wolfman design for the new movie, but rather a shoddy costume to build hype for the upcoming flick. I'm pretty steadfast in my confidence for this new one. Lee Winnell's last two directorial efforts were Upgrade, one of the best modern sci-fi horror flicks out there, and The Invisible Man from 2020, the only genuinely great reimagining from Universal's Dark Universe so far. The cast also includes the talents of Julia Garner and Christopher Abbott, who are both super consistent. I know that Winnell is going to make this one rip just like how he did with his other projects that he's been attached to. There's nothing to worry about yet, but I will say it is suspicious that this film was supposed to release in October of this year and was then pushed to January 2025. That might just be because of the other Dark Universe movies that were basically huge flops like Renfield and Last Voyage of the Demeter. Universal might just be worried that this is going to flop right alongside those, but man, I hope not. Y'all gotta put some respect on Lee Winnell's name. He's Adam in Saw! I finally got to see Beetlejuice 2 last night, one of my most anticipated horror flicks of the year for me personally. The original is one of my favorites from Tim Burton's catalog, as it's a horror comedy that doesn't take itself too seriously and has a hilarious attitude against New Yorkers for some reason. Like seriously, the original feels like it's constantly going after greedy city types who will do anything for a buck. It's a really fun theme that might get missed underneath the morbidly fun sheen of that original film. While I really enjoyed this sequel, it definitely loses those narrative complexities in favor of some underdeveloped world building and a ton of new characters that don't seem all that purposeful. Getting into a spoiler-free review here, Beetlejuice 2 is by definition a legacy sequel. There are a few callbacks and Easter eggs to that original flick, but thankfully it's not as egregious as some of the other horror flicks that have been doing the same thing for a long time now. I'm looking at you, Ghostface shrine scene from Scream 6. Oh my god. The juice gets loose and Michael Keaton Douglas absolutely rips as the ghost with the most again. And yes, he wants to go by Michael Keaton Douglas, Douglas nowadays. Look it up. I do have the same complaint about the original film though, there's just simply not enough Beetlejuice. While I don't have the exact time estimates of how much screen time Beetlejuice has in both flicks for the Redditors out there, I walked away from this one just wishing we could see more of him. The best parts of both of these films is when the bio-exorcist is on screen. You'd think for the sequel they'd throw him out there a little more. Speaking of world building, they also took a dive into his backstory, which I really enjoyed. You get to learn a lot about these long-standing characters in this one. I'm so conflicted on the villains because I think across the board all of them are good ideas, but because they happened all at once, it makes the story feel bloated and directionless. There's a few twists along the way that feel fun in the moment, but afterwards you realize how much time that took away from seeing a focused plot on the characters from the original. Nobody got enough screen time because so much was going on at every single moment of this film, which I still had a great time with, but imagine if they had cut out like 2 of the 4 or maybe 5 subplots going on in this one and just sharpened up what remained. I think it would have resulted in a film that could have hit on more emotions. Like, this movie nailed the comedy side of it. You will be cracking up at some of the macabre antics throughout, but the emotional stuff just totally falls flat for me because they didn't have enough time to set it up. I did not care about the struggling relationship between Lydia and Astrid, which is supposed to be a huge component of the film. I also love what they did to Charles Dietz, considering that Jeffrey Jones is a piece of human dog shit. They gave him a tremendously awful death that is well deserved. I'm not so crazy about the fact that we follow half of his body through little interludes of this movie though. It felt really unnecessary and I kept thinking to myself, just let it go and move on. The change in writers is certainly noticeable and makes this one feel more like a season of Wednesday, which some of the older fans might not love. Jenna Ortega is just playing her take on Wednesday Addams here, down to the little dance number she does with her legacy family. She even has a little subplot about a cute boy that lives in Winter River. Ooh, I could have done almost entirely without that to focus more on Monica Bellucci's villainous Dolores. Great idea for an antagonist in this universe, but it renders itself pointless by the time the credits roll. It feels like they really wanted to cater to that younger Wednesday crowd more than telling another brilliantly dark story. I mean, I don't care that much considering that both of these films are basically kids' movies, but I did miss some of those weird complexities that the original sneaks into its messy narrative. Both films are clunky and chaotic, but the sequel takes both of those terms to a brand new level. Wolf Jackson is such a standout character from Willem Dafoe. I can't possibly dislike this movie when 2 of my favorite actors of all time are in it, playing some of their most over-the-top characters ever. Wolf Jackson's backstory is that he played a cop in movies and is now an actual cop in the afterlife, running a very misguided ship. He ends up going after Mr. Juice, as he calls him, and Dolores, a soul sucker. Again, great character, but just not enough screen time or real purpose. All in all, I really loved Beetlejuice, warts and all. It's nowhere near perfect, but the original isn't either. I think it's a really nostalgic 80s film filled with silly moments and great actors, but the plot is basically a nonchalant version of Amityville horror from the perspective of the ghosts. The original still found a way to feel grounded throughout all of that insanity, but the sequel struggles with that at times. There are thousands of set pieces, characters, and world-building conversations that are really intriguing, but it just becomes too much, making the film feel bloated. I recommend seeing this one if you're a fan of the original. If not, it may not be for you. I give it a generous 6 out of 10. I would definitely see it again, and my excitement for a potential third film is certainly still there after this sequel. That's because the legacy characters have not skipped a beat since 1988, and that alone is simply impressive. Tim Burton's direction makes this romp undeniable, and the nostalgic vibes sugarcoat this admittedly average product. I had so much fun with it, but it's certainly not the movie of the year. Before we wrap up today's video, I'd like to ask you all to subscribe to my gaming channel, GullGotha. I'm playing the new Dead by Daylight spin-off, The Casting of Frank Stone, soon, so make sure to check out that video when it drops. Thank you to everyone who has already subscribed. What section of this spooky video was your favorite? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you all again for watching, and as always, don't forget to kill it out there, y'all.